achieved.
What up, everybody? Welcome to Studio Day Jeffrey Day Quarantine. Good to see you on a Sunday. Almost have to update you guys. I think we're approaching 18%ers. Those of you who have the notifications turned on to not miss a video. Cowboys today, what I want to do is go over Mike Clay from ESPN, his roster ranks to set the expectation for how good this Cowboys roster is. I want to do that and then do a giant Cowboys mailbag because I've had a whole bunch of questions from you guys that you've left in the comments over the days, and I want to get those caught up, try to take care of all you guys out there. So, let's start with this. Mike Clay, ESPN.com. What he did was he ranked every position group for every team in the NFL. So the Dallas Cowboys are the one that we care about, right? I'm going to go through these, and you tell me if any of these jumps out at you. Fair, unfair, Cowboys getting hated on, Cowboys getting too much love. Starting off, quarterback. Cowboys rank 7th. I think that one's totally fair. Dak, in terms of a starter, you could probably put anywhere from 5 or 6 to 11 or 12. With Dalton, you got a good backup. And with the Nooch, you have the future of the Cowboys, of course. That's a joke. Chill out. Thank you. Unless it's not. Running back. They rank the Cowboys running back group as 4th, which, again, I think is fair. Zeke is a really good runner. Their change of pace guy last year, Tony Pollard, over 5 yards a carry. I think you got to be happy with that running back room. We'll see what else they get out of there in terms of maybe we get one of these TCU kids. Maybe you have an undrafted free agent make this team, and let's see who the other guys are other than the top 2. But you're in good shape at running back. Now, Mike Clay, ESPN at wide receiver. Where do the Cowboys rank? Number 1. Which is awesome because I agree with him. They have the best wide receiver trio in the league. I don't know when I'll get over the fact that CeeDee Lamb made it to number 17 overall in the NFL draft, but it ain't going to be today because that dude is a monster. He's going to be a monster. And you added to Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, you get the best receiver trio in the league. Now, in terms of depth, you don't have a lot of depth there. I don't think you're going to find too many people who are loving your Devin Smith, Cedric Wilson as your 4-5. But we'll see what happens at camp. We'll see if anything jumps out. John Bay Johnson, by the way, I saw was activated. Him and Savion Smith, I believe they were on the COVID list, but they've been activated. So you're ready to rock and roll there. You got the best wide receiver group in the league. Tight end, this is where Mike Clay does a little hating, and it's not his fault. I don't think he knows any better. He puts the Cowboys 29th at tight end. I don't care about their depth in terms of the Belldozer and Schultz, Charlie T., the free agents who are trying to battle it out to make this team as a 3rd tight end. But Jarwin's better than that. He's just not a household name yet because he was blocked by Witten last year when he shouldn't have been. He should have been playing and putting up the numbers, but you had Gold Jacket Witt blocking the way. Cowboys ranked 29th, according to Mike Clay, at tight end, and 3 on the offensive line, 3rd. So, wide receivers 1st, offensive line 3rd, running back 4th, quarterback 7th, tight end 29th, but he's wrong about that. They're better than 29th in the league at tight end going into this football season. But that's pretty darn good on the offensive side of the ball. And it just furthers my thing of people like the Cowboys this year. The analytics crowd likes the Cowboys. A lot of the experts like the Cowboys. And what do you do with that? Do you just get ready for giant disappointment and know that you're going to be mad at some point? Maybe. Or maybe you just go ahead and buy into it. It's a good roster. It's a unique setup with the way this season's going to go with how coaches get you ready for football and all that. But it's a good roster. Now, that's the offensive side. Defensive side. Interior defensive line with the additions of Dontari Poe and Gerald McCoy. Mike Clay has the Cowboys 14th in the league, which I think makes a lot of sense. You have guys that once upon a time were really good at their position with McCoy and Poe, and you can throw in the guys that are going to be behind them, Antoine Woods and Neville Gallimore, and throw in Tristan Hill for now. I don't know how he makes this team unless they're going to keep 5 guys in there, but middle of the road, I think that's fair. You got guys that are kind of on the back end of their careers now, but that once upon a time were really good, and now you would expect them to be solid. At edge, 18th, according to Mike Clay. Now, this is where you can fluctuate because Tank Lawrence is going to be a really good player. Question is he going to get back to being a double-digit sack guy? I would bet that Tank will have double-digit sacks this year. And the giant wild card, of course, is Aldon Smith. What can he do? Is he going to be a guy that can replace Robert Quinn's sack totals from a year ago and go double digits as well? Or is it a guy that, hey, you've been out of football for basically a half decade and you can help out a little bit in spots, and Tyrone Crawford's going to play a lot of end? We'll see. Aldon Smith makes it very possible that being ranked at 18th, you could end up ranked in the top 10 if he gives you what you dream of him giving you. But if you've been on this channel for long, you know I've stayed consistent. I don't think it's fair to put really big expectations on Aldon Smith because of how long he's been out of it. But you can hope for it, and it'd be pretty kick-ass if that happened. Linebacker, they got him second in the entire league. And I think we've done segments on a lot of these rankings when I think he's just pulling from the same rankings he's been doing leading up to this point. So linebacker with Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith, number 2 in the NFL. I think that's really, really high, way too high based on how they played last year. But they're putting a lot of credit into how those guys played 2 years ago, and they're young enough that there's no reason they couldn't repeat playing at their best with Van Der Esch and Smith. So it makes sense to say, hey, I know the potential resides in each of them to be a really good linebacker in the league. So they got him second behind only Seattle. Which, okay. Cornerback, 19th. You lose Byron Jones. You have an unknown even who's going to be the starters. You can tell me in the comments, who do you think will be the 3 starting corners for this team? And with the way that Mike McCarthy answered the Chido question the other day, he was really generic about it. You could easily take out of that, dude, Chido's playing safety, or Chido is absolutely playing corner. But he talked about the versatility they want from everybody, but he referred to him as a perimeter player. He did mention the nickel, being able to play the slot. He mentioned flexibility to play safety, but he said it in a general sense about his entire roster and not necessarily answering the question about Chido. So if I had to answer it, I will go Trayvon Diggs, Chido. God, I keep going back and forth between Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown. Jordan Lewis, I love the risk-reward. But Anthony Brown's been the starter, and they've both been here for a long time, and Brown's been the starter the whole time. I'm going to go Lewis. I'm going to go Brown. I'm going Lewis. I'm going Brown. Listen, Anthony Brown's got more years on his contract now. They re-upped him. I'm going to go Brown. I'm going to go Lewis. One of them is going to start. Safety, the Cowboys dead middle of the league at 16th. Clinton Dix and Xavier Woods. And yeah, that's probably about right. Nothing spectacular back there, but a couple of guys that are capable NFL starters for sure. Now, overall, where does that put the Cowboys? Second in the league. Second best roster in the league, according to Mike Clay and ESPN. And I'm telling you, it's not just Mike Clay. It's Pro Football Focus. It's when Bill Barnwell writes his article for ESPN on the teams that are going to bounce back. The Cowboys are going to be on that list because he just goes off of point differential from the year before, and he hits 90% of the time. And he's going to pick the Cowboys to win 10 or 11 games, and he hits 90% of the time. So it's cool. You can buy into this one, I think. You can buy into this one because if it doesn't go well, we'll just have plenty of people to blame, and we'll be super disappointed together, and it'll be great. This roster should win. This roster should win the division, no doubt. You have a better roster than the Philadelphia Eagles do. I think you have a better quarterback than the Eagles do. You have better receivers than the Eagles do. Without Brandon Brooks, you have a better offensive line than the Eagles do. Running back, Miles Sanders is really good, so you could go either way there. They have better tight ends, they have better defensive line. You have better linebackers, and they may have a better secondary. But whatever. The Cowboys have a better roster than the Eagles, a better roster than the Giants, a better roster than the Washington Football Team Club, and they should win this division. That's why people are picking them. It's not for no reason. All right, let me see how many mailbag questions I can get through. This one is from Kevin Durant's burner. Hey, Jeff, I bet you won't shave the beard for the next video. You are correct, because I did that before, and I looked stupid. I was watching a golf tournament. I think it was Ricky Fowler and somebody else, and they had done the shave everything and just leave like this guy and a little Fu Manchu action. So I did that. I shaved that. And it was funny for like a day, but then I shaved everything. And it's weird because I'm not fat. I'm skinny fat, I guess. But then your chin, you can see the shape of like your chin and stuff gets weird. And it's terrible. It's awful. Hunter Fox, how do you like your wings? Like sauce and stuff like that. My recipe that I learned from my guys at Premier Grilling is carnivore red is your first dry rub you put on there. And then I believe it's called clucker dust to add some heat to it. And just cook those bad boys at 275. You don't have to go all this low and slow and wait all day for this crap. Get you some wings, slap them on there for 90 minutes at 275, and they'll be delicious. Okay? Carnivore red and clucker dust or clucker duster, one or the other. Jacob Person. 17%er here. We're almost 18% now. Love the videos. What players do you think have the ability to flex in positions we haven't talked about? Coaching staff is obviously open to it. I could see a lot of Pollard in the slot. Anyone else? I've seen a lot of people talking about that. The idea of Pollard as essentially your fourth wide receiver because there's not a guy on the roster that you love for that role. I do a lot of times go back to the analytics on that, where if you put a running back in the slot, your expected results are not as good as if you just put a wide receiver in the slot, no matter who it is. But I am intrigued by it because I think Pollard's got a lot of ability in terms of after catch, and I think he's not like we say, a good route runner. He's a good route running back for sure, but comparing him to a guy whose job is playing receiver in the NFL, I don't know. I am in on the idea of playing two backs at times, Zeke and Pollard, and letting one of them motion around and have teams not know exactly what you're going to do, and I'm kind of in on that. Riley Rosenbush, he says, Poe at fullback, Dontari Poe, I love bits. So yes, for 3 plays this year, I want to see Dontari Poe at fullback because bits are fun and sports are fun. Brandon Raines, proud 17%er here. I think an interesting scheme look would be I formation with Zeke at fullback and Pollard at tailback with 3 wide receivers. 5 of your best receivers on the field and your 2 best runners, and Zeke as your best skill position blocker. A lot of ways to attack with this. Sure, I like the idea too. Not the idea necessarily of I formation with Zeke lined up as a fullback a bunch. I don't think he'd be a big fan of that. He was a lead blocker for quarterbacks running at Ohio State a lot. But no, I don't think Zeke wants to line up at fullback real often. Maybe more split back. Brandon Raines. Nope, I just did that one. Hello. 17%er Mike. Look at you updating your name to proudly proclaim your 17 percentage. Jeff, are we sure McCarthy is going to be the answer? I'm pretty sure out of all the coaches during the Super Bowl era, only Don Shula, Dick Vermeil, and Andy Reid have won a Super Bowl after leaving the team they took to a Super Bowl. No one's won with multiple teams. Feels more like a Parcells 2.0 to me. Please help me feel more at ease. All right, here's how I'm going to make you feel more at ease. He's better than Garrett. I mean, if you ask a Green Bay fan, he did kind of get fired in Green Bay for things that are very similar to what we complained about with Garrett. But I watched Garrett coach for a long time, and you had a new head coach that's better than Garrett. Maybe he's not the answer. Maybe he's not the long-term guy. But you upgraded a head coach, and for now, I'll take it. Let me see here. Ted Prickett. He said, I've heard you say, do you think Jarwin could become a top 5 or 7 tight end in the league? I've heard you say you don't think he's a Kittle or Kelsey's level, but in terms of talent, how many more do you have ahead of him that you would want instead of him? Ingram, Delaney Walker, Ebron, Waller, Hooper. Honestly, I like Jarwin ahead of Hooper, Ebron, and Delaney, but I like Waller, Goddard, and Ingram. So you've got, for you, Jarwin is the 7th best tight end in terms of talent. Is that fair? I don't know. I would like to see more before I would put him that high. Just top of my head, obviously, you go Kittle 1, Kelsey 2. The Eagles have 1, if not 2, tight ends that I would take over Jarwin. You do have Austin Hooper and Darren Waller. He may be as good as the 7th best tight end in football this year, but I'll pump the brakes on proclaiming him as a superstar. Just proclaim him an upgrade. You've finally got a tight end that can threaten teams down the seam and is a threat after catch when he catches shoot routes or curl routes. Just be happy about that. Tuck says, I'd like to hear you talk about how you think the non-contract for Dak will factor into how much he runs, whether it be by design or accident, and his willingness to run. I don't think it'll affect him only because I think it's next to impossible to think about that while you're physically playing football. During a play, I don't think Dak can have a guy screaming in this way or that way, and it opens up. They got man coverage. He's got 15 yards of green in front of him, and his reaction is to start going, and his brain goes, wait, we don't have a long-term deal. We could get hurt. I just don't think that happens. I don't think that happens at all. I think Dak is going to be a pro, and he's going to go give you everything he's got, and I ain't worried about it at all. Mustang Brian 51, 17%er. Who's our punt and kick returner this season? I'd love to see Pollard or Lamb. That works for me. Pollard kick return, Lamb punt return. Both can work magic in the open field, but I'm worried about injuries with the shortened preseason. Those are the two names that jump in my head, too. Tavon Austin, I think, is still floating around, so you could bring him back. But I like the idea of Tony Pollard's your kick returner and CD is your punt returner. I don't know if they'll view CD as being too important to the offense to risk on returns. And I get it if they go that route, but I'd be excited to see CD Lamb as the punt returner. Clayton Lockhart. He says, I think it would be a mistake to play Chido at safety, let the guy continue as a corner and hope he's figured it out to turn around and play the ball more. He did give up a lot of yards last year, but let's face it, there were plenty of games where the opposing teams never won at Byron, so naturally, Chido gave up more yards than others. That's true. Teams avoided Byron about as much as they avoided any cornerback in the league, so Chido was going to give up numbers. I don't really have a preference on if you move him or not. I think a new coaching staff and new schematical ideas can be good for all these guys. He's got 1 year left under contract, so I don't think you need to change his position and see what you got here. Although, you know what? They did it with Byron, right? Put him in a new position, and suddenly he was really good at his job. Samuel, who do you think will have more touchdowns this year on the team? Just like the most? Well, if you don't count the quarterback, probably Zeke. Probably 14 or 15 total, and I think that would be a lot to ask of any individual receiver, so probably Zeke. Hector wants to know who will score the first touchdown this season for the Cowboys, okay? First, it'll be the first drive of the season. They've been moving the ball down the field. The good odds you would take here would be probably Zeke, although it's a new coaching staff, so maybe they won't just ram it to the running back all the time. Give me, a little hiccup action. I will take Michael Gallup to score the first touchdown of the season for the Cowboys. Maybe a defensive player. Leave in the comments who you want to score the first touchdown. Brandon says, I love Jim Tomsula as our D-line coach. Think he's one of the best in the league. Can you see 40 sacks for the season? It's possible. I like Tomsula too. It's possible. Their personnel on the defensive line isn't great to project a ton of sacks. You know, I think Poe and McCoy are upgrades over what you had, but you'd be stunned if Poe had more than 3 or 4 sacks. I'd be surprised if McCoy had more than 5 or 6 sacks. Tank, I think, will be a double-digit guy. And after that, what's fair? Alden Smith, 6? Sure, he could have 15, but 5, 6. Tyrone Crawford, 4, 5. We can start adding them up, and you can get to 40. You can get there. You can throw in some Jordan Lewis, some Jalen Smith, some Blitzen. You can get to 40. Dean Julia, I know you've asked this one a few times. I'm sorry I haven't answered it. It'll have to be a research project. He says, which of the new position coaches has the best track record of developing talent, preferably young talent? I would have to go back and match up their years with where they were and who the young players were on that roster. I apologize for not having that answer off the top of my head. Matthew says, I'm a 17%er, and I smashed that thumbs up button on every video. Question for today, which current Cowboys have the best shot at making it to the Hall of Fame? Well, number 1, Zach Martin. Number 2, Tyron Smith. 3, probably Zeke. 4, Amari. 5, I saw an article by Barnwell where I think he put Leighton Vander Esch as having a chance. And he's just doing the numbers, you know. I think he was Defensive Rookie of the Year, right? And so that gives him a chance. Most Defensive Rookie of the Years are good players for their career, and some make the Hall of Fame. Martin and Tyron are locks, are near locks. Zeke's in route because it's a numbers thing at running back, so I think he'll be in. 2, 3. Lyle Collins if he puts together 10 straight Pro Bowls. Dak if he wins a Super Bowl or 2. But I'll guess there's at least 3. Well, CeeDee Lamb. You know darn well CeeDee's going to the Hall. Bluff City Cowboys. Got another question. I had an argument with someone about whether or not Sean Lee could be a starter on half the teams in the NFL. What do you think? I don't think half the teams in the NFL would want to count on that for 16 games a year. And I think last year he wasn't great when he did play. So for now, I would say half the teams. No, I don't think Lee would be a starter on half the teams. And I'm talking about nickel when you have just 2 linebackers on the field. But maybe. I think you're in the ballpark. I would probably go under, but I think you're in the ballpark. Oh, looky there. We got through them all. All right, leave in the comments. Leave in the comments your favorite vacation destination, crunchy or creamy peanut butter, and what flavor of jelly you prefer, okay? I appreciate you guys stopping by. Let's have ourselves a fantastic day. I love you, and I love you. Bye.